These trash talkers really should have kept their mouths closed, and thankfully karma came back to bite them in the most violent fashion possible. Here's what happens when trash talkers get what they deserve. One fight, one round, 4 knockdowns. This cocky fighter, the taller guy, was doing everything to project this air of competence and authority over his opponent, even swatting a mic away from their stare down just so he could get some real up-close and personal time with his opponent. Early in that round, he actually seemed like he was about to follow through on all that hype. One big moment in an opening exchange saw him score a big knockdown, but it was clear that he'd underestimated the grit and determination of his opponent. Once this down fighter regained his footing, he came back with a new sense of aggression, scoring 3 straight knockdowns on his target, turning the tables completely to shut him down. These two fighters didn't even make it back to their corners for round 2. A total display of chaos in the ring.
Owen with a few fights more.
Working up an over-the-top beef with our opponent pre-fight isn't the craziest thing for an MMA fighter to do. In fact, it can actually help him drum up the interest with the fans. But there's a line that can be very easily crossed that turns a regular rivalry into something a lot more significant. For this dude, slapping his opponent's hand away when he tried to go in for a handshake proved to be a big mistake. Not only because it made him look pretty bad, but he also very clearly gave his opponent some added motivation. When fight night came around, his overeager attitude saw him run into a huge 1-2 counter, dropping him to the canvas and allowing his opponent to get the easy finish.
Matěj tady nevypadá dobře ze startu druhého kola. Tohle to bude konec zápasu.
The sign of a great rivalry is when there's an equal level of energy or even aggression being produced by both sides. This next one, however, was not a great rivalry, not by any means. It was too easy to see that all the aggression was coming from one of these guys. One fighter was far calmer and seemingly far more confident in his ability to get the job done on fight night, because his cocky, brash, and totally unlikable opponent really seemed like he was compensating for something. Sure enough, when the time to fight actually came, only one of these guys was up to the task, and a massive elbow early on left this arrogant competitor totally out of it and unable to continue.
Matěj tady nevypadá dobře ze startu druhého kola.
When this guy decided to put on a clown mask, surely he must have realized just how silly a defeat would make him look. Well, maybe he didn't consider the ramifications of his decision, because this totally pointless gimmick wasn't ever going to earn him new fans. We don't know who exactly his target audience was. It was just a seriously stupid decision. But hey, if he managed to win the fight, all would be forgiven, right? Well, as it turned out, he wasn't too great in that department either. In fact, to say he messed up massively in the ring would be an understatement. His opponent was totally unthreatened by him from start to finish. And when he finally knocked him down, his opponent didn't have the willpower to fight through it. Suddenly, a clown costume seemed like a fitting choice.
Right in front of our commentary position. I think that one rang his bell. You should put that clown mask.
James Gallagher grew up as a member of Team McGregor, watching from the sidelines as his famous gym mate conquered the MMA world. So it's not as if you could be too hard on him for taking influence from his fellow Irishmen. But Gallagher truly did take his McGregor imitation way too far, to the point where it was incredibly annoying to both his haters and Conor's own fans. On top of that, Gallagher just didn't have McGregor's striking, and when he came face-to-face with Ricky Bandejas, he got served with a viral knockout he might never live down. In fact, this was just as bad a trash talker getting what they deserve moment as you'll ever see. If you act tough and carry yourself like a douchebag, you better last longer than 10 seconds in there, because this totally idiotic fighter was already busy making himself look bad before the fight even started. But when the bell rang, he faked a glove touch just so he could land a quick leg kick. How did his opponent respond? Well, he went up top with a rapid head kick, landing cleanly on his opponent's chin, sending him face first to the mat for one of the most embarrassing displays you'll ever see. This guy had that $1 million swagger just seconds before, but when the time came to actually produce something of substance, it all fell apart immediately. Yet another Conor McGregor wannabe comes in next, and this guy genuinely makes James Gallagher look like a world-class fighter. At least Gallagher's a decent prospect in Bellator's bantamweight division, but this guy? He's another level of laughable entirely. He even modeled his look on the Notorious. Early on in this fight, he seemed like he was pulling off a decent impression of Conor, bouncing around in the same way McGregor does until, well, his opponent managed to totally destroy him in the first round. This was no fluke TKO either. No, this Conor impressionist got absolutely demolished in this fight, thrown around like he had no business being in that cage. And we kinda agree. One truly awful display of mixed martial arts.
Sai pro lado rapidamente, não deixando seu adversário. Eita! Uau!
While we're on the subject of guys who are trying way too hard, how about this Brazilian matchup under the Jungle Fight banner? One of these dudes was just bringing far too much energy to the pre-fight build-up, looking to paint himself as this unhinged monster whenever he got a chance. Unfortunately, his opponent was simply better at fighting than he was, and it didn't take long for him to find his off switch, sending him with a well-deserved one-way ticket to the Shadow Realm. Yet another totally one-sided display of aggression that resulted in another highly uncompetitive matchup. The lesson? Maybe spend more time focusing on your actual fighting ability rather than acting like a tough guy.
Cruzadaço na ponta do queixo, já caiu desligado. Chute espetacular! Senhoras e senhores!
It doesn't matter how small the promotion is. If you're fighting the guy who has the belt, then they're worthy of at least some amount of respect. But this cocky challenger wouldn't even look his opponent in the face, and he totally refused to shake his hand, despite the champ's intention to be respectful towards him. The whole thing came across as totally over the top and needless. But when the time came to fight, perhaps this brash and arrogant contender was going to find a way to make good on his pre-fight villain role. Well, if that was the script, it did not come to pass. No, an early head kick sent this guy packing almost immediately, marking this title fight with an incredibly ugly ending. We've seen a lot of pre-fight weirdness in our day, but whoever told this guy that bringing a banana to the weigh-in was a good idea really does need to get their head examined. Whatever the point of using the fruit like a gun was, we've certainly missed it. But early on in this fight, it did appear as though this cocky, arrogant fighter was having some success, landing several hard shots and even stunning his opponent. But that same cockiness that saw him bring that banana led him into a hard counter shot, and in an instant, all that pre-fight bravado was shown to be for nothing. Truly embarrassing stuff from this guy. And if anyone knows why he had a banana in the first place, I'll be sure to let us know in the comments.
Fucking gold trunks for fans, great trunks for Taunting!
Yet another appearance from our friend in the clown mask comes in next, and trust me, this one was no more successful than the first. This guy really doesn't look like that much of an athlete. His frame was by no means an impressive one, and the decision to do this whole clown gimmick just seemed like an odd choice. His opponent, on the other hand, He was the one who looked like the actual fighter of the two. Despite this clown's attempt to dart in and out of range and confuse his opponent's timing, the end result wasn't a good one. Once the clown's chin was tested with a huge shot, he hit the canvas and couldn't have recovered. Who knows what his overall game plan was, but this was not a good showcase for him.
Fucking bull trucks for fans. Great trucks for Taunting. Again, Macho to the right.
Trying to steal your opponent's championship belt is all well and good if you're Conor McGregor and you have the charisma to make it work. But when you're some random dude and your opponent is the future UFC talent Movsar Evloev, things are not going to end well for you. This guy just tried his utmost to grab his opponent's belt, and then when Evloev actually decided to hand it to him, he immediately gave it back. Talk about trying too hard. In the end, Evloev was able to dominate on the mat, and eventually finding himself in the position to pound his target out in round 5. One of these fighters will go on to become a credible featherweight in the top flight. The other would not. You guess which one is which. Putting your fist on your opponent's chin is a surefire way to end up on one of these videos if you lose. For this fighter, he tried his hardest to look cool and intimidating in the build-up to this matchup, taunting his opponent and laughing at him during the build-up to the bout. But when the time came to back up his actions, he failed miserably. His opponent's BJJ was simply much better than his own, and on the mat, he was rendered helpless as soon as he conceded the takedown. By the time the choke came, it was very obvious who the better fighter was. He may have won the stare down, but the fight itself wasn't as simple.
Demetrius Johnson'ның атақты күшін салып соққы жасауға асығар емес, қолмен.
This cocky little fighter is the very definition of overconfident. A guy who tried his utmost to give off a certain vibe to his opponent and everyone watching at home. But if you couldn't see through this guy's facade instantly, we don't know what to tell you. This guy was very clearly out of his depth, putting forth an act that even a blind man could see through. But despite trying to get physical with his opponent pre-fight, when the action kicked off inside the cage, he was totally manhandled by his opponent, thrown around like he was totally weightless, before getting easily subbed on the mat. We're not ones to instruct fighters on what to do, but maybe this guy should consider moving down in weight. There was a real difference in physical force here.
Даун жасай аладым, жоқ. Не ойлаған түсініксіз бұл жерде. Жоқ. Demetrius Johnson'ның атақты күшін салып соққы жасауға асығар емес, қолмен қылқындыру әдісі осымен барлығы бітетін сияқты, иә. Мойынды алды, толықтай қылқындыра ұстап, стоп. Райымбек Асан. Бүгінгі турнирдегі екінші арм триангл.
Back out. 35 seconds to finish. Takes another shot and more. And here they come, and there's the stoppage.
It's always the tough-looking guys with the multiple tattoos that ends up disappointing, right? Well, maybe that's not a fair statement to make, but this guy certainly fits that billing. He did the whole macho bravado thing and even put up gun signs to his opponent, hitting every cliche in the book in an attempt to convince his fans that he has a chance. But when push came to shove, his boxing ability left a lot to be desired. In fact, it's pretty fair to say that his opponent had absolutely no problem making a fool out of him, scoring 2 knockdowns in quick succession before the ref mercifully jumped in and saved him from a brutal knockout.
His shot in the first round, and he's brought it back with interest in round number 2. Let's see how Hannon responds. This is with his right hand, and there's the hook again, and he goes again. The second knockdown in this second round for Andre McGregor. He wobbles back up. 35 seconds to finish. And he takes another shot, and more. And here they come, and there's the stoppage. And it's a victory for the Russian Kiwi. On the big stage here in Australia for the first time.
This next one needs to be seen to be believed. Remember how we said that bringing a banana to a weigh-in was one of the strangest things you could do? Well, this woman's fight produced a moment that is on a different level entirely. There was a clear intention here to score a viral moment, and to be honest, it worked pretty well. The problem was that this woman's fighting ability was not up to scratch. It didn't take long for the more dominant fighter to score the takedown and find her way into a side saddle position. From there, she had absolutely no problem scoring a series of ground and pound shots, forcing the referee to jump in and stop this totally uncompetitive bout. Once again, this was a fight that peaked at the weigh-in. Why these fighters get into so many pre-fight brawls is beyond me. But the idea of jeopardizing your chance to actually fight in a cage just so you can land a few sucker punches is a truly strange thought. But either way, this guy couldn't keep his cool under the bright lights, and damn near knocked his rival off his chair as he tried to do damage. Believe it or not, when the time came for him to fight man-to-man, it all fell apart. This guy's coward-like behavior during fight week left him looking like a total idiot when he failed to match his opponent's levels in the cage. The superior fighter was able to dominate with ease, hammering him out for an easy win that must have felt good.
Неплохо, по-прежнему чувствует дистанцию.
Michael Venom Page is a great striker and one hell of a highlight reel. But taking on a prime Douglas Lima was a different level of test than MVP was accustomed to. This was a seasoned pro, with a proven track record at championship level, and when Page had his legs swept from underneath him with an expertly timed leg kick, his chin was left there for the taking. Lima proved he was the greater man on this night, and all that pre-fight nonsense came to nothing.
В голову прилетело, хотя сама же поскользнулся и упала после этого Сиана.
Проваливает Сиана, да, перекрывается сейчас Гарайханова, она падает, и добивание, да.
Yet another example of a fighter putting too much effort into their pre-fight antics and then failing to capitalize on that momentum when the fighting starts. But even by our video standards, this woman's MMA fight was a bad one. This was a one-sided bludgeoning, a beatdown that erased all memories of any of the pre-fight posturing. It was quick, violent, and totally clear. This is a type of loss that can change a fighter. Good luck bouncing back from this one.
Соперницу, и теперь у нее рекорд в нашем деле 3-0. Уничтожила, даже плачет сейчас София, жаль.
Попал локтем, и добавляет это нокаут.
These two muscle-bound tanks seemed destined on getting a rise out of each other. There was a real sense that anything could happen when they both faced off. And sure enough, when things got heated, security were immediately needed. But for as much as this was a pretty evenly matched pairing on the mic and during the face-off, when the time came to actually throw down and fight, things were a lot more straightforward. One of these guys was clearly a lot better than the other, and after asserting himself on the feet, he managed to find the takedown and eventually score the easy finish. So much pre-fight anger, and yet we got so little action in the end.
Попал локтем, и добавляет это нокаут.
He can hit me as hard as you want, he ain't gonna hurt me. You know what I mean? He's gonna be damaged, man. I'm gonna cut this boy up. I'm gonna prove to the public, prove to the whole nation that I'm still the man. I'm still the Mac, and that's it. That's period. For real. Like I told you, I'm a different beast. I'm a different animal. I'm not your average 40-year-old. You feel me? Like, I'm a bad boy. You know what I mean? I'll beat him on the ropes. I'll sit there and play with him because my skill's too much for him. I'll beat him on the inside and the outside. If he wants to fight on the inside, let's go on the inside. When you go outside, let's go on the outside. I'll beat him every facet of the fight game. He can't beat me. Period. Just tune in. Get the pay-per-view. Get your popcorn. Get your ice cream. Whatever. Cocoa Pops. Whatever you want to eat. And watch the man do his thing. Believe me. I am the show. He ain't the show. I'm the show.
In the world of boxing, there is a huge difference between looking tough, talking tough, and actually being a great fighter. Jeff Horn was certainly a much better overall athlete than his opponent, Anthony Mundine. But the pre-fight buildup had the veteran Mundine putting out a lot of trash talk, and he even got physical with Horn whenever the chance presented itself. Horn, on the other hand, seemed totally unbothered by it, and it was clear he had confidence in his ability to win on fight night. It took him just one round to put Mundine out, making this one truly embarrassing outcome for this highly cocky and aggressive fighter who, at his age, should have known better. So much pre-fight aggression, so little end result. Yet another fake tough guy managed to make a total fool of himself pre-fight, here by pushing his opponent and even throwing a front kick at him, like that would ever do real damage at that range. But either way, this idiot's calm and stoic opponent put a pace on him early on that made their difference in skill level very clear. When he finally put him down once and for all, it was with a total hammer blow, straight right shot, no follow-up needed. This one was a great lesson in karma, and just how fast it can come back to haunt you when the punches start flying. There's an entire tier of entries for this list that can be categorized as truly pathetic. And in this case, we can't think of a better way to describe how this one played out. This guy tried to spring a whole gimmick on his opponent during the pre-fight stare-down, pulling out his phone and doing his utmost to try and score himself a viral moment for his troubles. If that was the intention, well, he certainly managed to succeed, just not in the way he likely had hoped. His opponent nailed him early in the midsection with a spinning back kick, and once he moved away, this dude literally just fell over and practically stopped fighting, allowing his opponent to move in and put him away for an easy TKO. Oh, this next one is bad, really bad. Jawing at your opponent during the pre-fight face-off is one thing, but man, if you're gonna trash talk to him mid-fight, make sure he doesn't land a concussive head kick immediately afterwards. This one right here is one of the most embarrassing displays you'll ever see, and even now, we have no idea why this trash-talking idiot was so confident in there. Either way, this was one hell of a head kick finish, the perfect way to comprehensively send a message to an overly aggressive and undeniably arrogant opponent.
This man right here, he's telling to take me with a name like Gorilla. Oh wait, Gorilla? Is that it? Let's see what you can do now.
Bob Sapp has lost so many fights in a row, it's a wonder why he even bothers trying to convince his fans that he's going to win. Sapp's very sketchy track record of being involved in less than credible fixed fights has been so bad that it made his decision to trash talk his Road FC opponent Arugella very strange. Sure, he has to sell his fights, but man, Sapp was promising way too much to the fans. And sure enough, it didn't take long for his opponent to drop him and get the easy TKO.
This fight is over.
When you're facing a legend of Badr Hari's status, you're always going to be up against it. But for Arek Versosik, he dealt with Hari's fight week aggression by remaining calm, understanding that Hari was the one with everything to lose. He carried that attitude with him into the ring on fight night. And despite getting dropped by Badr early on, he remained focused on the task at hand. Eventually, he swung momentum in his favor wildly with a huge head kick. And as soon as it landed, Hari hit the canvas, and all his trash talk came to nothing.
Короче, Вот, если он поймает удар, то ему будет очень плохо. Вот это именно.
To finish the video off, we come to one of the most obnoxious fighters imaginable. A guy who's put so much effort into antagonizing his opponent that he seemed to forget to shore up his fighting skills. He started a brawl at a media event and got embarrassed. He then tried to grab his rival during the referee's instructions. And after all that, when the time came to actually perform, all he did was get himself knocked down repeatedly and force the ref to stop the bout. This dude wasted more energy on media day than he actually used in the ring. One of the most embarrassing overall fighting displays that you'll ever see.
Ему будет очень плохо. Вот это именно я и хотел сказать.
Поднимается после нокдауна Джавид. Ух ты, сейчас уже Джавид тоже попал и пошатало там. Пошел Джавид добивать шатающегося Силу, как показалось, но сам пропустил навстречу и оказался уже в третьем нокдауне, и все. Судья заканчивает этот поединок. Михаил Сила Долгополов финиширует.